If your baby is popping up at 4 or 5 in the morning like they've got a morning meeting, you're not alone. And no, your baby is not spiritually aligned with productivity culture. Early morning waking is one of the most rage-inducing sleep problems because it feels like you were so close. You finally got a decent stretch, then boom, it's the middle of the night pretending to be morning. Hi, I'm Treasure, and I help exhausted, overwhelmed parents make baby sleep make sense in real life without judgment or one-size-fits-all rules. Let's get you out of the 4 to 5 in the morning club. Let's start with the most relieving truth. That early morning window is the lightest, most fragile part of the night for most babies and toddlers, so tiny things can knock sleep apart right there. When you hear 4 or 5, your brain says, well, I guess we're up. But your baby's brain often says, I woke up between cycles and something in my body or environment said, yep, it's morning now. Here's what's actually going on under the surface. Most early morning waking comes from one of a few patterns. And once you spot which one you're in, the fix stops feeling like random guessing. Now let's talk about the first big pattern, schedule math. Sometimes your baby is simply done sleeping because bedtime is too early for the length of night your baby can consistently do right now. If your baby tends to sleep about 10 to 11 hours overnight and bedtime is very early, that wake time can land at 4 or 5 in the morning. That does not mean you did anything wrong, it just means their sleep budget is used up. On the flip side, the second schedule pattern is overtiredness. This is the one that makes parents feel crazy because you think, if they're exhausted, why are they waking earlier? A baby who goes to bed overtired often sleeps lighter in the early morning hours. Their body can get a little more revved up, and that last stretch becomes the easiest place for the night to fall apart. And then there's the third schedule pattern, undertired or mismatched daytime sleep. Too much daytime sleep, a last nap that runs late, or a day that accidentally has less awake time than your baby needs can all shorten the night and pull wake up earlier. By the way, if you want this whole thing laid out clearly, grab my free guide, The Modern Parent's Sleep Roadmap, the guide I wish I had at 2 in the morning. The link is in the video description and on the screen. Okay, now let's shift to the next big driver, light and morning cues. Early morning is when the brain is most ready to believe it's daytime, so even small light leaks can lock in a habit. I'm talking about that tiny line of light around the curtains, or the hallway glow when someone opens a door, or the sunrise that hits the crib like a spotlight. For some babies, that's all it takes for their brain to say, oh, it's morning, cool, we're doing this now. And once that happens a few days in a row, it can become a learned wake time. Now let's talk about the third driver that nobody wants to hear at 4:45 in the morning. Whatever happens after the wake up can accidentally train the wake up. If baby wakes at 4 or 5 and the room gets bright, or the day starts, or the vibe turns fun, their brain stores that as the new normal. And I know you're not trying to create a habit, you're trying to survive and not lose your job. This is especially true for working parents. When you have daycare drop-off, commutes, meetings, and real consequences, a 5 a.m. start feels like an actual threat to your life. So let's make this practical and gentle. Now let's talk about what helps starting tonight. The first goal is to stop treating 4 or 5 in the morning like morning, even if it feels like morning. If your desired wake time is, say, closer to 6 or 7, anything before that gets handled like a night waking. That means keep it dark, keep it boring, keep your voice low and your energy even lower. If your baby needs a quick check, you do it calmly and then help them settle back in their safe sleep space. If they're old enough that you know they can sleep longer, your job is to make the early wake up extremely uninteresting. And if they're younger and you're not sure whether hunger is part of this, you can still keep it dark and quiet while you respond. The goal is not to ignore your baby. The goal is to stop sending the signal that the day has started. Here's the next piece that makes a huge difference. Anchor the morning with light at the time you actually want the day to begin. When you get them up for the day, open the curtains and let the room get bright. That contrast helps their body learn this is morning, not earlier. Now let's deal with the schedule without turning your life into a spreadsheet. You do not need a perfect nap chart to fix this. You need 1 or 2 smart adjustments. If bedtime has drifted very early out of desperation, you may need to shift it slightly later over time while keeping the morning response consistent. If bedtime is late and evenings are a mess, you may need to pull bedtime earlier to prevent that overtired early morning pop-up. You can test this without doing anything extreme. Make a small bedtime adjustment and hold it steady long enough to see the pattern instead of changing 5 things every night. And if naps are the chaos source, look closely at the last nap. A last nap that ends too late can steal from that early morning stretch, and a last nap that disappears too soon can make bedtime overtired and fragile. If daycare naps are all over the place, you're not doomed. You can protect a bedtime anchor, use a short rescue nap if needed, and focus on consistency with what you control, without fighting daycare like it's a personal enemy. Now let's talk about the environment, because this is the sneaky one. Early morning waking gets worse when the room becomes less comfortable right before sunrise. Rooms can get colder in the early morning. White noise can time out. Diapers can get heavy. A sleep sack can start feeling annoying for a sensory-sensitive baby. And if your baby is the type who notices everything, this matters more. Some babies can sleep through a marching band, and some babies can't sleep through a tag touching their neck. So do a quick early morning audit. Is it truly dark? Is the sound steady all night? Is the temperature stable? Is there anything that changes around the time they wake? Now let's add one more pattern that looks like early morning waking, but is actually a different problem. Sometimes it's a split night that ends early. If your baby was awake for a long time overnight, that early morning wake is the final result of a night that already got broken. In that case, we fix the middle of the night problem, and the morning usually improves with it. Now, I want to say something gently but clearly. If you're handling the wake up differently every morning because you're desperate, you're not inconsistent. You're human. But inconsistency is exactly what keeps this problem sticky. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because the early morning brain learns fast. So your fewest moves plan is this. Keep the response boring and dark before your desired wake time. Anchor morning with light at your real wake time, and make one small schedule adjustment based on whether bedtime is too early, too late, or naps are out of sync. And if you want the quickest way to stop guessing which pattern you're in, this is where support helps. I'll tell you why, because this is usually not about effort, it's about precision. If you've been doing everything and it still keeps happening, it's often a tiny timing issue you can't see when you're sleep deprived. Or it's a sensory and regulation issue that needs a more customized setup. This is the part where I'm not going to sell you a fantasy. Some babies shift in a few days, and some need a more tailored plan because their wiring, schedule constraints, or sensory needs make early mornings extra sticky. If you want personalized help, I have a master's in social work, I'm a certified pediatric sleep consultant, and I'm the CEO of Rested and Renewed Pediatric Sleep Consulting. I'm also a toddler mom, so I fully understand how personal sleep deprivation gets. You can book a consultation and we'll build a plan that fits your baby and your real schedule. And if you're not ready, start with the free Modern Parent Sleep Roadmap in the description and on the screen. Now let's close the loop with red flags, because I never want you stuck wondering what's normal. If your baby has loud snoring, breathing pauses, persistent coughing at night, severe reflux signs, or daytime feeding and growth concerns, bring that to your pediatrician. And if early morning waking is paired with constant misery all day, or you're dealing with postpartum anxiety, that's getting worse because sleep is crumbling, that's also a moment to stop muscling through alone. You deserve support too. If your baby is waking at 4 or 5 in the morning, you're not failing. You're dealing with the most sensitive part of the night, and once you stop accidentally signaling morning, the whole pattern gets easier to shift. The next video will help you spot the hidden pattern that keeps you stuck in the same exhausting loop, so you're not making changes that backfire when you're already running on fumes. Tap the screen to watch my next video.
Don't forget, download the guide, subscribe for more clarity, and tap this screen. Trust me on this one.